Now we're looking at the Photoshop file for Matt's Photos page. This one's even larger and more complicated than the last Photoshop document we looked at. Let's take a look at the Layers palette so you can see what went into building this file. As you can see, a lot of work went into this document, but the client was very happy with the results, and that makes it all worthwhile. This single Photoshop document is just under a gigabyte. This is my original source file for this page. Once I'm satisfied and have client approval, I'll turn off the vector layers contained in this folder called Type and flatten the file. Then I'll save the file as a new flat document, keeping the original document with the layers intact, just in case I need to make changes or rearrange some elements. Because this file will serve as a template for Matt's Photos section, it's a good bet that as Matt's company grows, I'll be adding other pages with new photos. I always design my websites to be easily updated and grow as your business grows. We'll talk more about this in the Dynamic Websites and Content Management section later on. Then I'll re-add my text layers on this flat file. Because most site changes are text changes, this makes it easier to change out the text without opening and altering the original source file. Now some of you might realize that using graphics as your text is not the best way to set text in a website for SEO purposes, because the Google bots can't read text and images. So why use text as graphics? Even though CSS is a powerful way to set and style text on a web page, it's still limited compared to the power of Photoshop and Illustrator. Using graphics for my text is the only way I can get the text effects I wanted for this website. The client was made aware of the issues with SEO and was not concerned at this point. However, if you are using graphics for your text, there are ways to aid in SEO. One way is the alt tag, which stands for alternative content. To comply with W3 standards, all images must have alt tags, which are readable by the Google bots. Metadata can also be added and embedded inside the images. We'll talk more about metadata later in the SEO section. I'll also create buttons for the up, hover, and down state of the main site navigation here. I've zoomed in on this document so you can get a better look at the navigation bar, which appears as tabs at the bottom of the book. I'm going to open up the type folder so you can see the type layers. The tabs are appearing in their up state. If I turn on this layer, this is what the tabs look in their down state when someone has clicked on them. And this layer shows what the tabs look like in their hover state once a visitor mouses over one of these buttons. When I save this file for the web, 3 separate images will have to be made for each one of these tabs. One for the up, hover, and down state of these buttons. Each one of these images will get loaded into the XHTML document as a rollover button. Now I'm going to prepare this document for a web application. I'm going to do this by slicing it up into smaller pieces and saving it for the web. I'll turn on my slices. Now I've already created these slices using my guides and my slice tool. Slices work like a cookie cutter, breaking the image up into smaller pieces that will be loaded independently by the end user's browser, thus creating faster load times. So when viewed online, the page will get put back together and look just like one big image, like you see here. We'll look at how these slices get embedded in our XHTML document in the next video. A Photoshop file in its native format is way too large to be viewed online. So now I'm going to need to change this file and compress it into a format so it can be viewed online. I'm going to do this by going to File, Save for Web and Devices, Now the first thing I'm going to do when saving for the web is to change my image size to the image size as defined back in my XHTML document. In this case, it's 950 pixels. Hit Apply. Now I'm going to choose my compression format. I've got GIF, JPEG, PNG8, PNG24, and WBMP. Because there's a lot of detail in this image, and I want it to retain a photographic quality, I'm going to choose JPEG. And for the quality, I'm going to keep it at high. Notice these numbers down in the bottom left? Watch what happens when I change the quality. This is the file size of the image once I've saved it for the web. This is the time it takes to download at a given internet connection. In this case, it's set to dial-up. So what's the trade-off? The lower the quality of the image, the faster the download time, but the image starts to degrade. Now if I want to compare different settings, I can go up top to 2 up or 4 up. I'm going to choose 4 up. And I'm going to zoom in. Here we've got our original. I'm going to set the second one to maximum. The third I'll set to high. And the last one I'll set to low. As you can see, you're starting to see some pixelation in here and some banding. You're starting to lose a lot of the texture in the sprocket. And I think I'm going to use high for my quality setting. I can still see some detail in the sprocket, and the file size is still rather small compared to the other ones. Now I'm going to save this, choose all slices, and hit save.